Greetings, YTPC. Peter Piper, the True Light, coming to you from the bunker at 22:54 Eastern Standard Time, -5 Greenwich Mean Time for my global subscribers. Smoking the Peterson XL315 with Black Frigate from Cornell and Diehl. A hearty blend. Well, tonight I want to do a VR to our good friend Onion on the patio at 2 a.m. I know I didn't say that in the right order, but I just watched a video of his, and it's about a week old, actually, so I watched it kind of late. And he asked the question, what was it that got you into pipe smoking? Why did you pick up a pipe? Well, for me, it's kind of a convoluted story. For some reason, when I was 15, I started smoking cigarettes. And I remember buying my first pack of Camel non-filtered cigarettes at the little grocery store that was on our street. And back then, they'd sell them to anybody. You were 3 years old and walked in there and said they were for your mom, they'd sell them to you. And I think I was the summer of my summer of the 8th grade. I was 15, and lots of other kids in the neighborhood were smoking. And I grew up in a, I'm going to say a semi-rough neighborhood. It was, I would say pretty middle class, but we had the Navy element. And at the end of my street, which was which was a mix, my neighborhood was a mix of Navy and civilian folks. And for a lot of people that were well-to-do, they had summer homes there because it was on a peninsula on Narragansett Bay. And it was, the name of it was Shore Acres, and the peninsula is known as Saga Point in Narragansett Bay on Rhode Island. And close, very close by, certainly within walking distance, was the Quonset Point Naval Air Station. I mention that because Navy families, particularly, I want to say particularly enlisted families, but even the officer ranks, the kids that grew up in those families were a rough bunch. And you had your bullies and kids that came from homes where I guess their fathers would be out of the home probably 50% of the time. So I have to give that background as part of my growing up story and my young years, and certainly starting to smoke young. And pardon me. And my dad was a chief petty officer, um, and when I was 7, he was 36, and he contracted Hodgkin's disease. And back then there was no cure for it, so he became terminally ill, um, and passed away uh, at 36. So that didn't make life much easier for me. And I'm relating this because Onion was very open about issues that he had with anger and emotion, and um, not sure where that came from, but I know what it's like, certainly, to suffer through things like depression and having in my case, a rough childhood. But getting back to the pipe and cigarettes and all that, shortly after I started cigarette smoking, I entered my um, freshman year in high school. And I take that back. Earlier, when I said I was 15, I was actually 14. I turned 15 my freshman year in high school. And by then, all the cool kids smoked, cigarettes in particular. But I had a friend of mine who I used to smoke cigarettes with and hang out with. And back then, we'd all, as soon as the bus dropped us off uh, in the early morning, say 6:30 in the morning at high school, we'd all congregate on the other side of the street, across the street from the high school, which wasn't school property, and that's where we'd light up. And I think at one point, Mike and I decided we'd go to the local drugstore and buy pipes and try pipe smoking. So I think the first pipe I bought was just a drugstore pipe. I don't even think it was a Dr. Graybo. It was some off-brand pipe. I remember it was black and it was rusticated, and it was like a straight billiard. It might have even been a filter pipe. I'm not sure. And I think the first tobacco I bought was a pouch of Carter Hall. So Mike and I smoked our pipes, and we were kind of unique among the other kids, boys in particular. And of course, we'd all congregate in the boys' room, the boys' restroom, as it were, and where everybody was smoking, and there were just the whole restroom was just billowing with smoke, and the commodes were all full of cigarette butts and everything like that. God help you if you ever had to go in there and actually use one of them, but and I never did. And from time to time, the vice principal would come in And everybody, you know, pitch their cigarettes real quick. And he would always catch one or two guys, and they'd have detention for a week or something like that. And eventually, they got so fed up with cleaning the restrooms, I think, that they finally gave us smoking privileges. And if you had a signed note from your parents, you could actually smoke in designated areas on the school campus. But Mike and I had our pipes, and we kind of started a trend, and other guys started smoking pipes after that. And before long, we had our own little pipe smoking community in the high school. And I remember one time we were in biology class, which was the first class in the morning, and we were all sitting around the table, and we were cleaning our pipes. And one guy was cleaning his pipe and with pipe cleaner, and it's all filthy and everything like that. And it's pretty funny. So I don't know. That kind of died off. I continued smoking cigarettes, and I later joined the Navy. And when I got out of high school, and the Navy, of course, has a big heritage of pipe smoking going back hundreds of years. And I think that's where your Navy flake tobacco comes from. And of course, you had your cigarette smokers in the Navy. But once we deployed, like on a cruise overseas, there was there was kind of a strange phenomenon. Guys that didn't smoke, who didn't smoke cigarettes, who didn't smoke at all, started breaking out pipes. And I guess it's understandable because being out at sea and underway and after ship's work and everything like that, there's only so much you can do. So pipe smoking became quite a thing back then. And I didn't smoke a pipe then. I didn't smoke a pipe the whole time through the Navy. Um, but I continued to be a cigarette smoker, and then I got out of the Navy, and I think the next time I picked up a pipe was in college, and I think at that point I had started to quit smoking off and on, and I'd go for periods of 6 months or 8 months without smoking, and then one time, um, in order to quit cigarettes, I turned to a pipe. And I liked it. And once again, I think I bought a cheap drugstore pipe. And I remember, I think I bought a pouch of Granger tobacco, and I was smoking that for a while. And the guys and gals that I was studying with in college didn't know that I smoked, and I was kind of a closet smoker, and I would hide away during labs and stuff like that, take a break and go out and have a cigarette on the quad or something like that. And one time we were having a barbecue. It was the end of the year, end of the year in my junior year, and I was smoking a pipe then, and they saw me smoking a pipe, and they knew I was a cigarette smoker and that I was trying to quit and everything, and they gave me a hard time about it. And they said if I continued to smoke a pipe, I'd probably go back to cigarette smoking. And I did, you know. But at that cookout or barbecue, I think I either lost my pipe or maybe somebody, thinking they were doing something good for me, stole it from me, I think. Because I never found it. And after that, I never picked up a pipe again. And then I went for, um, I eventually went back to cigarettes, I think. Off and on. I'd have periods where I'd quit and I'd go back and quit and I'd go back. And um, I actually quit for 13 years straight and didn't touch anything tobacco related for over 13 years. And had an event in my life where I just started smoking again. I was at my brother's house and we were having some drinks together and stuff like that. And I just reached over and I picked up a cigarette and lit it up. And I had another period of smoking for about 3 years. And then it was just last year when the 3 year period ended and I quit. But I also uh, became introduced to the YTPC, and I said I'm going to try smoking a pipe. This is about November last year, and I've been smoking a pipe since then. I like it. I find it very relaxing. I'm not winded at all as I was when I was smoking cigarettes. Um, I remember years back when I was fertilizing my lawn, just pushing the spreader. I'd be so winded after just doing a couple of lines up and down the lawn. And this year I did my front lawn and I didn't have that problem. And I know that, there are risks associated with pipe smoking. Um, but I haven't noticed anything detrimental to my health. Um, I haven't seen my dentist yet since I started. So that's another thing. But I do find it very relaxing. And I enjoy the hobby. I enjoy the different tobaccos and different pipes. And I probably smoke more than I should. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Onion and want to know that I really appreciate um, the thoughts that he shared with us last week. And I think it's a really mature characteristic to talk about things like that in an open way. And I try to do it. I'm probably a bit reserved about it, but we've all had trials and tribulations in our life. And um, if something like this can help you get through it, all the more the better. There's worse things in life. Well, that's about all I've got. I appreciate you sticking with me if you've watched this for as long as I've been talking. And truly wish you all the best. Stay safe, be well, and love each other, and stay close to your loved ones. Uh, and God bless. Have a good evening.